Welcome, beautiful people, to Petrify the Patriarchy. I'm your guide, Joe B. If you're ready to unearth the subtle ways patriarchal culture has shaped your world and uncover the hidden power within your own shadow, you're in the right place. Here we don't just speak truth to power, we wield it, turning stagnant energies to stone so that your authentic, liberated self can truly flourish. Let the unlearning begin. Hey there, visionary. It's me, Joe B. This is just a quick bonus, 5-ish minute, because I literally had a realization yesterday that I couldn't wait to share. So here we go. Here's what we've been talking about. The Gorgon scale, which is about the debt of earning our space. That's the space that we exist within our body, the space that we, live throughout our day, right? And that crushing weight of the masculine energy of constantly doing. Go, 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 get that next paycheck, right? But about a year ago, I started digging into a concept that made everything click into place. And yesterday was kind of my big click moment. And it's from a term from the Cree people called Wetiko. So if you want to learn more about this, I highly recommend reading Paul Levy's book, Dispelling Wetiko. He has several on the subject, but I found this one to be the one that really called in all of my understanding and knowledge and make all the pieces kind of finally click together. The puzzle is there, right? So Wetiko is described as a cannibalistic spirit, a mind virus that tricks the host, me, the person, into believing that consuming others, that means spiritually, psychically consuming, and then eventually turns itself on ourselves, is the only way to survive. And it's a hunger that's never satisfied. So here's my big woo moment. Patriarchy is simply the most successful delivery system for Wetiko ever created. And here's kind of the anatomy of that infection or virus, if you will. So if we think about it, we've been treating patriarchy like the social contract of a group of men in a boardroom, for example, making decisions for everyone else. It's the rules that we abide by, but the rules. But it feels bigger than that. And I think especially if you're living in the United States today, having that United Statesian existence, I think all of us can probably agree it really honestly feels like a sickness. I definitely feel sick anytime I read the news, right? So it's bigger than that. It's not simply this construct anymore. It's a legitimate virus spreading through the social contract of existence. So in my brain, here's how I've kind of figured this works together. Wetiko is the why. It's the insatiable greed, the need for dominance, the need for power. It's that grab, right? The doing that never stops. The next paycheck I have to get, the checklist of bills that need to be paid. That's the Wetiko part of it. And the patriarchy is the how, the legal system, the social system, our financial system, for example, that keeps the virus really organized, so that it never really dies off. It's always there. And so when we talk about our inner landlord, our inner critic, that inner voice, the one that's always negative or harsh or demanding of you, that voice that telling you shouldn't be sitting still, or you're not enough, or whatever that perceived negative thought process is, that isn't just a thought. That's the virus of Wetiko feeding on your life force. And it makes us all cannibals of our own time. And it makes us look at our sisters not as a community, not as an empowered group of people living the same existence, but as legitimate competition. And it turns our inherent being, that feminine energy, into a taxable commodity that works for the patriarchal system. So is there an antivirus? Yes. It's not a pill, unfortunately, but if Wetiko is a virus of consumption of doing, constantly doing, you can't sit still. You have to check off the list. You have to get that next paycheck. You have to, right? Then the cure isn't doing more activism. Not that activism isn't bad. It's inherently amazing, and that's where great ideas come from, and that's where community comes from, and that's where, right? But if you spread yourself too thin and all you're doing is activism, aren't you still falling into the consumption of doing, because the activism is just what you're doing outside of the job that you do 9 to 5 to pay the bills, right? It's more doing. It's more masculine energy. And so the cure is the feminine energy of being. Stillness, understand your soul, create, right? The virus cannot survive in a host that is still. It can't survive in a person who knows that they're worth, it costs $0 to rent this body, right? I am a whole and complete person on my own, right? When you choose to touch the trees in the yard, or you choose to sit in your ick-free sacredness, if you will, you aren't simply just relaxing. You are becoming radioactive to the virus, because you are deeply centered in your soul, in your why, in your purpose. And this is what petrifying the parasite of Wetiko is, and simultaneously petrifying the patriarchy is. By knowing yourself, you get to stand in revolution, not just against a system out there, but in the mind virus that tried to convince you that you weren't enough, you're not good enough, right? You don't know enough, you're not big enough, you're whatever it is, right? The hunger stops when you realize you are already the feast. Okay? So here's the challenge. This week, I want you to find one moment where you feel the hunger to prove yourself, to earn your space, or to judge someone else's productivity, right? When we have those moments, we all do, stop, breathe, and say, I see you, Wetiko, and you don't get to eat today. Because you're going to squat in your own life. You're going to occupy your space without paying the rent. And we're going to stop feeding that virus that exists out there. We have to, for the sake of everyone. This is a brief description of what that actually encompasses. Again, pick up Levy's book. I'll put it in the show notes. But if you or your organization are ready to unlearn these parasitic patterns, let's get to work. Visit me at movingmaxim.com. We're going to start the eviction process together. Let's do that. Until next time, stay still, stay visionary, and keep your gaze steady. Joe B signing off.